What's the animal by you? So,
What's up?
It looks like a
What's-
Yeti type thing.
I have a duck and an Eeyore.
Oh.
that's not a duck.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you.
Are we live?
Technically.
Looks like it.
What time is it? I mean, we're 5 minutes early. But I don't care.
Oh, we don't have to start right away. I just want to know.
Oh. Well,
I don't want to say incriminating things.
you can say whatever you want. I have you muted.
Hi.
You guys should have been.
No, Emery could hear us.
Oh, well, no, I had just muted you when you said that, so. I don't know if you guys heard when I spilled yogurt all over my floor.
Yeah, we heard that.
Yeah, we heard that.
So I think now we're actually live.
We've been live this entire time.
Well, I mean, like, where our faces are on the screen.
Ooh,
Is
fancy.
that true? Maybe my stream is laggy.
Yeah.
I don't see our face. I don't see our faces yet.
Oh.
Emery,
There we
dude,
go.
you're so bad right now. You're not.
Bro, I have to adjust to the new setup.
Okay, you have 5 monitors and you can't tell what's going on.
Bro, I have 3 monitors now. This
All right,
is
so let's start.
dank.
Let's just go ahead and start.
Okay.
All right.
Let's talk about these monitors. So, Mike, you've been busy as of late.
Well, my wallet in particular has been busy.
Yeah. What has your wallet given you?
My wallet has imparted upon me triple monitors. This is the most amazing thing that I could have done to
Is this peak performance?
glow up a setup. All you have to do is just add a big monitor. And
Wow.
then
Okay.
Which? So you bought the one in the middle.
I bought the one in the middle, yeah.
So what monitor is this?
It's a Samsung Odyssey G5. However,
Okay.
You bought a G5?
I'm explaining. However, I was this morning when I was in bed before class. I was thinking to myself, I don't know if
TMI.
I don't know if I can live with only having 27 inches on my main monitor. So I bought another monitor. I bought a second monitor. It's a 32-inch gigabyte monitor. It's still like a VA panel and has a little wider curve, but it gives me more screen real estate.
So I don't understand the curve thing. What's the point of the curve?
It's better.
In what way?
It allows you.
So if you have an ultra wide monitor, it conforms to your field of view. So basically, here's the thing: if it's flat, if you're looking head on, right?
Yes.
Your eyes are on one focus plane. But if
Yes.
it's really like wide, then if you look to the farthest edge, your eyes will be on a different focus plane. They'll have to refocus slightly. So if you like keep going back and forth on the screen, you'll get more tired, like with your eyes.
The science supports me, Bowie.
If you curve it, it means that like you don't have to refocus your eyes.
This only matters if it's a really wide screen, though, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
This doesn't look very wide.
Well, maybe if you were here in it, you might understand.
Mike, how deep are your what is Dewey paying you?
Well, see, this is a lot of the backlog of the CRC money. That pays way better than Bowie.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow. I see how it is.
I mean, they pay probably double what you pay me. So, penis music.
Sorry, excuse me.
I
What?
had my iTunes open on my one of my monitors there. So yeah,
Nice.
but so this morning I bought another monitor with the intention of returning the one I'm currently using.
Because
Wait,
size.
so-
Because
Matter.
of size.
Wait, so you're using a monitor that you're about to return?
Yes.
Why didn't you just keep it in the box?
Because I wanted to see if I like.
Because he made the decision after he had already set it up.
No, that's not true.
What?
Oh my god.
Dude, that's so jank. You know how like merchandise gets so much worse if it's open box?
Well,
like
yeah.
no one wants it.
I think about it this way. I am helping the consumer out.
Oh, you just made a cheaper monitor for someone.
Yep.
Because
Hey,
it's perfectly good.
when I return this,
E-waste, dude.
No, someone will
E-waste.
purchase it.
No.
Open box.
This is going to be an open box, like buy.
No,
it from
no
Amazon
one,
type thing.
no one wants that, dude. No one wants.
Are you
Hey,
kidding? I only purchase
someone in the
if I
chat-
purchase new electronics, I purchase them open box or refurbished.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna be returning this
Interesting.
probably like Friday. So
I mean, I also tend used to buy open box stuff until I got a real job. But I'm just saying, generally, no one wants to buy that stuff. That's why they sit there all the time.
well, yeah,
Except for poor students.
yeah, basically.
Well,
I also bought
I
a
mean-
graphics card that can drive this monitor in a game. 5700 XT, and you're probably thinking,
Why did you go Team Red?
well, no, I was gonna say because RDNA 2 is gonna come out like at the end.
No,
of the
I'm
month.
also just wondering why you went Team Red
Well, because
before.
I use Mac OS on this computer, and
Sorry, what was that?
Oh.
Absolutely proprietary.
Yeah,
So
I'm
you're
using
getting
Windows
your
right
Apple
now.
shilling cuckness is getting cucked into Team Red graphics.
But like, well, actually, I also want to support AMD because I think AMD is a noble company, right?
Uh-huh.
you're just trying to
You're
taunt
saying you'd
Zeph.
rather support a multi-billion-dollar corporation
Over.
than have better performance to dollar ratio.
Well, see, but I also don't care for Nvidia, right? You don't need RTX.
I think I'm just gonna agree that I won't probably ever understand your purchase.
No one,
AKA.
no one understands. No one understands them.
Does Nvidia have Radeon image sharpening? Oh, I'm sorry. Stunning visuals with no performance impact?
Okay.
What is
Nvidia
this
also
technology?
released their new low latency technology, and they released it so it can be enabled on AMD cards as
Now
well.
see, look at this. Look at this. Look at the sharper image.
Cool.
You know, if you look at the OS support, I don't see Mac OS in there.
Oh well, it only works in Windows 10. Well, see, no, but I play games on Windows 10, right? So
Yeah.
that's the only thing that matters, right? I don't need
Okay. So, this is a kind of random question. Is it possible? So you have a Hackintosh, obviously.
Correct.
It's dual booted with Windows, so you can play video games.
Yes.
Is it possible to have a like a GPU in there? Let's say you have like an RTX card, an NVIDIA card in there, in like your primary slot, and then an AMD card in a secondary slot, and use the AMD card to output Mac OS?
Yes, you can. People do that.
Interesting.
Like it's kind of a hack where you just basically tell your macOS bootloader to disable that PCI slot rather.
Yeah.
From reporting to macOS. So
okay. So some people do run like a cheaper AMD card
yeah.
just for macOS to output a video signal.
And I used to do that, right? When I had a 1070, I bought this 590, but then I realized that having two graphics cards makes your computer a lot hotter than it needs to be. So
Gotcha.
that's why. But
Now,
also-
besides your splurging, you also have some other big news today.
I got a job offer from
Wow.
Dell.
From Dell.
Congrats.
You could use my creator's code on Dell.com. I don't know if that works, but yeah.
So does this mean you're gonna sell all your Apple stuff now?
This absolutely means the opposite. I'm going to buy more Apple gear now because I have all this extra money that I don't get until I start getting paid.
So how excited are you about this?
You can borrow from future you, is what you're saying.
Basically, whenever I purchase something, I am borrowing from future me.
That is a terrible habit to get into.
Now, are you shocked that you were able to find a job? Because I feel some of your friends are shocked.
Whoa.
When I went into
what do you mean by that?
When I went into this like Dell interview thing, shut up, power tennis. When I went into this, I was like, whatever, you know, but it worked out, so that's really all that matters.
Now, I do want to point out that AKK was able to get this job opportunity through
Jeff.
a former Lug president. So you want to talk about how this came to be?
Didn't she just ask, hey, who wants a job at Dell? I don't remember.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, basically. And so then she put my name in the pool, and like they really only hire from like the Southwest. So I was like one of the only non-Southwestern people. Really like one of the few people not from Texas. But
That's not the Southwest, but we'll go with it.
it's the Southwest. Is that better?
Sure. I think we just say Texas.
Texas. But
Yeah, it's essentially like not quite part of the US.
Yeah. Anyways, well, we're all proud of you.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
So load off your shoulders. So now you can concentrate on actually running the club, right?
Probably. Speaking of which, we're doing the Lug Halloween thing. I don't know when we're going to talk about that. Probably at the end.
Play at the end. All right, Zeph, how about you, man? What have you been up to?
I've been grinding. This part of the semester has been real bad.
You said that last week.
I know. Exactly. This part of the semester has just been annoying. But besides that, I've been peer pressured to purchase Squad. So I purchased Squad and been playing with AKK, and I'm not a weeb if he's not a weeb in chat.
Not during class though, right?
Not during class, no. I'm not enough of a baller, unfortunately. Sometimes I think Bill plays too, but I've never seen him.
What is Squad?
It's a FPS. It's kind of, I would describe it as like a mix between like Arma and Battlefield and PlanetSide.
So how do you balance your grinding coursework with Squad and then time for your lady friend?
I balance it by playing like an hour or two of Squad, like pretty much once a week when AKK and Matt are playing. And that's about my leisure time besides coursework and, quote, balancing time with my lady friend. So
how's your lady friend feel about your squatting?
I don't think she minds.
Well, that's good. That's good. I'm glad she's resigned to it.
I mean, I think it'd be kind of problematic if she had a major problem with video games because I play video games. So,
All right. I guess for
Louis,
me,
how about you? What have you been up to?
I have a new nephew. My sister-in-law had a baby, a boy. I think his name is Liam Conrad. So that's exciting. The Python 3.9 update that we mentioned last time, turns out that the Arch devs may have pulled the trigger a little bit too fast, and there are a lot of fallout of breakage. So I've submitted a few PRs to fix some things. For instance, feed parser was broken, and that's what Bobbit uses to parse RSS feeds. And so Bobbit was down for about 10 minutes. But then I went to fix that, so it's all good. I had to fix like some scanning software that my wife uses. It's been sort of a pain, but it's fine. I also updated Chromium. That has not been merged.
Nice.
And so Void users will get a shiny new Chromium soon.
What's in this
now-
newest version of Chromium?
I don't know. It broke something, and
Nice.
I had to fix it. I forgot what it was. Something to do with video. But the main thing is that there's a new flag to actually enable hardware acceleration. I may or may not have stolen this patch from Arch Linux, but you know,
Did you
it's
say?
open source.
Wait, you
It's
Listen.
open source.
Yeah,
It's open
the
source,
point.
man. It's open
you gotta be
source.
lazy. Don't you
I,
teach us to be lazy?
Dude, I basically just look at what Arch Linux does, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll kind of copy them. And then I look at what Fedora does, and it goes, oh, okay, I'll do that too.
Wait,
So-
you updated to 86.0? Your build's failing, man.
No, it always fails because it's so big. So
Oh,
it's-
okay.
That sounds like great CI.
Yeah.
well, Chromium takes about an hour to compile, so Travis will time out. So it's not that strong. And then today I submitted my proposal for the midterm class I want to teach. So I plan on teaching an open source software development course. And so if you want to bring that up real
Yeah.
quick, it's basically what I taught last spring. And so I have some experience teaching it in a Corona remote asynchronous online environment. But it's
like
open
perfectly
source software
suited to it too.
yeah, it's open source software development, which is asynchronous online anyways.
Mhm.
But it's gonna be much more compact. It's only 3.5 weeks. And basically I'm gonna ask that students form a group of 4 to 6 people. They can meet with me ahead of time to verify that I will accept them into the course. I'm not gonna just let anybody in. And it's pretty much just an opportunity for you to make something interesting. I will have a list of ideas. I do not have them yet. They'll be different from the last time. I'm thinking of an Android app so that you can share images to any pastebin, which is something AKK and I have been wanting. I'm thinking of some educational games for spelling for my kids. I'm going to try to have a much more diverse set of projects, things that are useful. Oh, a app or website that collects fitness data. So instead of doing stride kick, we can have our own version of that.
Oh, that's a good
Open
idea.
source version.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to branch out, not just be like just use a exotic language making Linux utilities. That's kind of boring.
Yeah.
So, but I'm trying to think of more things that some students might be interested in. So that should be fun. If you have any ideas of a service or a project you would like to be done, and you think students can do it, please let me know. I'm open to making that a project. Example of this is last year we had Brick-a-Pick, which is in that link in that document. And that idea actually came from my friend Steve, who's in Austin. And he is like, oh, yo, check out these cool Lego designs I have. It'd be cool if I can just upload any picture and it automatically gives me like the layout of the bricks and stuff. And so I'm like, oh, that is a cool idea. I think students can do this. And so, this group did it. It worked out pretty well. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
Right?
not bad.
It's not bad. I mean, it doesn't do like any aggregation of the blocks, but it does pixelate it. It does do like the colors and stuff.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate representation.
So I think it's pretty cool. And so that's the idea is that you build something like this. A lot of students have said, for instance, this year while they were on the job hunt, it's been really useful for them to be able to talk about their projects, and instead of just saying, "Oh, I made a web server and systems," which everyone from Notre Dame will say, they talk about something more unique, that they sort of have a bigger lead in building.
Yeah. I also took this class for people who are thinking of taking it if the proposal goes through. And I think like my favorite part was just becoming more like comfortable with the open source community. So like I feel much less like scared to just like DM or join IRC channels for like open source projects because of this course. So I think it's really cool. I think it's a cool experience that like it's hard to get in other classes here.
It will be very intensive in the sense that I basically expect you to work 20, 30 hours a week.
Woof.
We will meet, well, because it's only a 3-week course.
I know,
so,
but I'm just saying, like, wow, that's...
So if you're like, oh, I just want something that I can chill, this is probably not it.
not the course.
But it would be like literally, you would get credit for it, right? Like
no, you get 3 credits. That's
credits.
right. You
So
get
it's a
3
legitimate
credits.
thing.
And so
that's not that bad. I mean, if it's the only class you're doing, 3 weeks of 20 to 30 hours is like, we have a long time before school is back in session. Might as well spend it doing something.
I'm just saying, don't be like, oh, I'm gonna go to a ski resort and then kind of take this class. Like, no, this is like I expect you to like work on this as if it was a full-time job, kind of, But again, I'm gonna vet
very
the
cushy
people.
full-time job.
I'm gonna vet the people and make sure. Like, I'm not gonna accept everybody. You have to talk to me. Oh my gosh, I know. So this is a lot of. There's no tests. There's no. All the grades is basically did you do the project. So.
Yep.
It's very hard to submit nothing. So
you just like have to make it to your MVP.
Yeah.
Like you have.
Yeah. It's not terrible to like do. Okay, there we go. You fixed it.
Sorry. All right. Well, speaking of friends and their feedback, it turns out that one of my friends, David Anderson, which I think I mentioned before in the previous podcast, as one of he works at Netflix. He's one of the best programmers I know. I may have brought him up under the issue of 10x engineers, but apparently he's been listening to our podcast on YouTube in the background, which
that's cool.
He said he is like 10% of our viewership, which is probably true.
Yeah, it is probably true.
On YouTube, he's probably closer to 50.
Yeah, probably closer to 50. But this is what he writes in on the topic of 10x engineers. He says, for what it's worth, I probably believe in 10x engineers, but they're super rare. Think like technical fellow at Microsoft or Google. And the vast majority of Netflix engineers, including Dave himself, are not 10x engineers. Then he goes on to say, the 10x is probably more in a sense of complex software design. Your average engineer probably couldn't design, for instance, K8 or Kubernetes from scratch, for example, in business impact, rather than just writing 10x more or better code. So I think that's something interesting to think about. That so from Dave's experience, and Dave's worked at Microsoft on the home server team. He's worked in Skype. At one point, he's worked at Netflix. So he's been in in these big organizations, seen a lot of really good engineers. And from his perspective, he does believe that there's some people, as Student 06 would say, are just built different. And he doesn't include himself in that company. But I don't know if, I guess for me, I don't know if 10x is something you want to shoot for. But I think it's something to be aware of. So
yeah.
Well, so Dane writes, he knows a technical fellow at Microsoft, and on his LinkedIn he lists built the first TypeScript compiler and code created VS Code. Well, that's a flex. Built
That's
different right
big
there.
flex.
If you've got flexes, might as well show them.
So what's your reaction to what Dave said? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I think it makes sense. I think if 10x engineers were to exist, I think they would have to be extremely rare.
Yeah. That's kind of my like. There's just probably like you get probably 1,000 normal engineers for every 10x engineers. That's my take.
I mean, I guess my question is that something you think you should shoot for? Like you want to shoot for? Like, do
Being
you
a
want to be a
10Xer?
10x? Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm not. I'm like content being like a 1x engineer.
Should we tell Dell this?
No. But like being like sweating an appropriate amount for your job is okay. I feel like 10xers they either are so in like good at what they do where it's not like a ton of sweat, but I feel like if I tried to shoot to be a 10x, I would probably sweat too hard and burn myself out.
So
Yeah,
you
I
might
see
be able
that.
to hit 10x levels, but for like a year and then be fed
Yeah,
up.
even then, I don't even think I could hit. I don't think I could hit 10x at any point in my career. I guess that's very pessimistic, but it's probably
I mean,
true.
I just like if you're not, let's say you're not naturally a 10x engineer, which I mean, I definitely am not. Then I don't think it's worth the life sacrifices
Yeah,
to go for that. I think you can still have really fulfilling work and have like fulfilling contributions without going that hard.
yeah. Say be a 2x.
And then you
or
can
a
also
3x.
save room in your life for relationships and like things that matter
Yeah,
in the extreme long run.
yeah. That's kind of my take too. Like, it's just not worth it to be.
I mean,
to
is
go
it
that
is
hard.
that? I mean, okay. So not to make this weird, but you know, a lot of Notre students come in, and they were always like, you're a top, 5% of your class, right? And when you come in at Frasho, they tell you, you're the top 2% of America because you're at Notre Dame and you're the best
Cool.
of the best, etc. Right?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Like, does hearing this, does seeing this, like have you sort of come to a realization that maybe you're not so special, and that
Absolutely.
I'm willing to believe that Notre Dame, like the Notre Dame pool, like incoming freshmen, I'm willing to believe that Notre Dame filters out based on some of their categories, and that there are some metrics in which Notre Dame students are like the top sub X%, right? That's fine, of like high schoolers. But I don't think that necessarily means we're going to be the top same X% of potential employees in the workforce.
Yeah.
But even so though, like right now, again, supposedly you're in the top 5%, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, does that seem? But most people don't think they're going to be the 10x person, right?
Yeah.
Does that seem crazy? Like, there's such a that even though you're like at the top, supposedly, you're not actually at the top. There's like still people above you. Like, is that sort of humbling, or is that sort of like just like? Is that sort of just like a realization you have?
Yeah, it's the state of things.
I think it's the state of things. I don't think that was a realization for me, because I think even like in high school there was, a few students who just really stood out as being insane, like doing things way before their age would suggest. And I think that's going to go like the same was going to happen at colleges.
Did you feel that? Did you feel that though? Did you like? Okay, to get a little personal, like for instance, for me, growing up, right? At elementary school, at high school, right? I was like the smartest person in the school. Like,
okay,
that's not something I believed, but that's something that everyone believed about me, and they told me all the time, which annoyed the heck out of me, right? But at some level, I kind of also believed that because I was told it so often of myself, like you're really special, like you're gonna be the next Bill Gates, etc. Like literally, these are what people told me, right? I get to Notre Dame.
But you're Asian.
I'm the Asian Bill Gates.
Asian.
I get to Notre Dame. I take chemistry, and I just like struggle so hard. I'm just like, were people wrong? Like, am I just like, have I been living a lie? Like, did you have this experience where you're just
Absolutely.
like, maybe I'm not as good as what I thought? And then like it took me some time, but like I came to terms with the fact that, I might be good or smart or whatever you want to say, but I'm not the best. Like there are like programmers, there's computer science professor majors, there's professors, there's engineers way better than me,
Yeah.
right? And to me, that's sort of at one point in my life, I would say that did bother me. That for a long time I was so good, but now I'm like sort of put in my place. I don't know.
No, that definitely. So I don't think that was necessarily like a shock to me because I think personally, I had two siblings who went through like a similar process, like literally the top, the top in their class in high school, and then they went to college, and they're like, now I'm at a high, like a top tier college, and everyone here is smart, and I no longer feel like smart. So I think I was kind of prepared for that experience going in. The difference is my siblings stayed top tier and I did not. But
Are you the black sheep?
I am the black sheep, yes.
I think AKK is also the black sheep
I'm
of his
also
family.
the black sheep, yeah.
Ooh.
Wait, so
Black
when
Sheep
you
Club.
so Bowie, when you went into Notre Dame, you like assumed you would just be like the best among your class? I'm just like curious about that.
I had straight A's, meaning I had all A's in high school.
I mean,
Literally
yeah,
all
so did
took
A's.
I.
Gen Chem.
Yeah,
I had perfect SAT score.
but like when
Okay.
your first day of class or just like your first semester, right? Like before even midterms, did you like feel that you still like we're gonna be like king, so to speak?
It wasn't like it wasn't like I thought I was gonna be king and like I'm gonna rule the campus.
But
It's
yeah,
more
but
like
you would be like,
I just
top
thought
10
I just
grade wise.
I just thought things would just come easily and naturally to me, like everything else did.
Like
in
all
high
your
school.
previous schooling.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in high school, like I literally just like there were days like I didn't sleep because I just stayed up like playing video games, not playing video games, but like just doing stupid stuff. Like
Yeah.
and I just crammed before the exam and I was fine.
And that works in
Yeah.
high school. Yeah.
And then when I got to Notre Dame, I'm like, oh, I actually have to like get like study skills and like work habits. Like that was very strange to me.
Ew.
I feel like everyone goes through that. I feel I've heard that story from everyone. So,
So,
I think-
but what does
I mean,
that?
I think
what does
Notre
that
Dame
say though?
I think a lot of Notre Dame classes are crafted to humble you.
yeah.
And because Notre Dame has some really
For
smart
every-
students, so
LOL, not everyone. Engineering core requirements are crazy cram study vibes.
I mean, I think it's interesting because even now, students will like look at me and they're like, "Oh man, Bowie's so like crazy smart and like I'll never be as good as him." I mean, obviously not everyone thinks that, but like I have a lot of students actually say that, right?
You've had 10.
I just look-
Yeah.
And I look
mean,
at that and
I
I'm
was
just like,
definitely in that camp.
Yeah.
and I look at, but I think I look at most of my students and like, you know what? To be honest, like most of you are probably smarter than me. Like, like for instance, Emery, for sure smarter than me.
Yeah. Well,
Sam, I will admit, is much more of a Chad than I am. Is probably smarter than me.
clip
Um,
that.
Gavin is probably smarter than me. Like, it's to me the only difference is that I've been teaching and I've been doing this longer, so I have more experience, right? But like, I wouldn't be surprised if one day, Sam comes back and he's like trying to explain this intricate, systems level stuff, and I'm like, okay, I have no idea what you just said, bro. Like to me that wouldn't surprise me, like I would be
That's also
surprised.
not like a fair comparison because it depends on what you're doing, right? So if you're working in a very specific field, then you're gonna like if you explain to someone outside that field, that's gonna happen,
No, what I'm saying is I think he'll end up, most of the students probably end up more skilled, well, not most, but some students will end up more skilled, better engineers, know more about computer science than I ever will, and that I don't know.
You're also a teacher, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want.
I know, I get it.
offensive,
Teachers
but,
can't do. I get it.
No, that's not what I mean.
That's what he meant.
I mean,
That's what I heard, man. That's what I heard.
That's why I tried to immediately qualify it. Let me speak my piece. I mean that you've devoted some of your time, a lot of your time, into like crafting classes, right? And educating students. and it's like time you could have been spent doing like CS stuff, right?
I will say, so like some people are like, why don't you use like an IDE? Like you'd be so much more productive. Like why don't you use like honestly, the reason why I don't do a lot of those things is one, I'm really lazy. You know, every good computer scientist is lazy. But two, at some level, like I want to handicap myself. So like I'm never that far from the noobs. Like I want to stay in an area where like I can sort
He's
of
too god
understand.
tier. We
Yeah,
gotta
say-
control him with
No,
Vim.
no, no. That's not. That's not. But I'm saying like I want to be familiar with the issues they have because to me that makes it that's really important in my teaching. It's like if you notice like all the times when I teach say systems, right? Like I will take them down the path where they make common mistakes, but then I will talk to them about why those are common mistakes, right? And I try to rectify them.
So you try to force yourself to forget how to quit Vim. So
Yeah,
you can-
no, like I like right no, like a lot of times when I call students up, like what do? I let them make mistakes in front of me, right? So then that's a teaching moment. Like I kind of want to be like have those like I feel like sometimes some people like understand something too well, then they can't bridge the gap because
Oh, for
there's
sure.
Yeah.
because
That
they
is
have
such a common professor problem.
but that's what I'm saying. Like I don't want to be in the position where like the words I'm saying, you have no idea what it is because I'm not speaking at a level that's appropriate for you.
Yeah.
You know?
That makes sense.
And so especially since I teach, you know, some of the lower level courses, like I feel
You
like
teach fundamentals. Yeah.
well, I don't teach fun comp, but you know. So Dane asked, how much better do you think you've become at systems in other classes by teaching the class? I think for the most part, I don't really understand something until I teach it. You know, like I didn't understand my data structures class was a joke. No offense to Notre Dame, but what I learned as an undergrad was terrible. And so I didn't really understand data structures until I taught it. And where I actually forced myself to actually implement, say, a hash table or a treat or binary search tree. Like we didn't do any of that stuff. You know, my data structures class was, you know, import the STL and then use vector. Ta-da, you did it. It's like, okay. But and so I learned a lot. I've learned a lot, for instance, about operating systems by teaching it. Like I don't usually use threads. That's why I tell students the first thing to do with threads is not to use them. But in teaching the class, I learned a lot about them, how to use them appropriately, and things like that. You know, because you think about it, a lot of things I teach in class aren't things I use regularly, right? So I'm not regularly writing socket code in C. That's just terrible to do. You know, no one wants to do that for fun. And so, but by teaching it and doing it every year, I keep that fresh in my mind. But I also don't really progress because I don't go deep into it. That's sort of what I was trying to say is like, I never like advance in my knowledge. I sort of stay at a certain level because that's where my courses are. You know, like I don't really go far from what my courses demand. So that's both a good thing and a bad thing, personally for me. All right, let's get into the news. We don't have a main topic, so we're just gonna talk about news today. I just want, real quick, if you have any feedback, such as what Dave mentioned, if you're watching our LugCast on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, and you want to give us some feedback, please let us know. We're happy to bring it up. So
Yeah.
Yep. And we're also happy to address specific topics if you have like an idea for something we could demonstrate or go over or talk about.
All right. So speaking of Microsoft,
Oh,
Well, you weren't speaking of Microsoft.
we actually were briefly earlier. I mentioned
so we said
Dave
the word
worked
Microsoft at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I said
okay.
yeah.
And based on that,
I tried.
Okay.
news.
I tried. So this is a follow-up. There's another follow-up. This is I believe from Dev at Canonical, and he basically says, look, everyone, you know, ESR saying Microsoft's going to rebase on Windows on Linux.
Yep.
Windows on Linux is just dumb. It's not going to happen. But what is going to happen probably is that, you know, basically you're going to have these different runtimes, and Linux is just going to be one of many runtimes, you know. And, you know, I can kind of see that. I just think that the speculation is interesting because it shows that in a way, in a very concrete way, that today's Microsoft is very different than the Microsoft of say a decade ago. Right? The fact this is even a conversation. The fact that Microsoft is releasing products for Linux, like the Linux desktop, in the form of Teams and Edge, like that's kind of a big deal. It may not be a harbinger of any larger strategy, but I think it's interesting.
It's definitely
Yes.
not something you would have seen 10 years ago,
No,
to say the least.
absolutely not. I'm excited
here's a
for more Linux stuff on Windows.
So here's a question for the chat and for you two. Well, Mike already has a job, but does all this stuff with open source in the cloud and Windows subsystem for Linux, does this make Microsoft more attractive to you as a possible employer or a place to work?
I guess for me, I know even though you targeted me and excluded me.
Targeted exclusion. Dang.
Yeah. I'd say, I think it's just cool that, they're doing this. Open source in general is kind of neat. Yeah, see, chat agrees with me.
Well, I'm just saying, like 5 years ago, people were like, no one wants to work for Microsoft. Microsoft's sort of like the icky old man of tech. But I feel like in the last few years, like more people are like, oh, Microsoft's kind of cool. They're kind of hip. I don't know.
I think it's totally changed with the leadership from Satya Nadella from Steve Ballmer. I guess people just really like to hate on Steve Ballmer, but
I mean, he does own the Clippers, so
yeah, but the vibe is definitely Microsoft is more hip now.
The thing is, like, they weren't hip though. Like 5 years ago, they were like, that was like the place people went to die. Like devs went to die. Like it was like a retirement home.
You're just like maintaining NT. It's like, oh, NT, the ancient
C#
beast,
Visual Studio.
And I do feel like their image has changed a lot. Like I feel like
it seems
they're not like Facebook level of hip. Although Facebook has sort of fallen off.
Facebook is kind of boomer.
Facebook's kind of sketch too.
It's more sketch than boomer.
Yeah.
But I feel now that students don't like frown upon Microsoft. Now Microsoft's still like a good target for most people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it seems like it.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's talk some product announcements. Let's move on. So there are a couple of big product announcements this week. Let's start with
talk about Zen 3.
Let's talk about Zen 3. So tell us about Zen 3.
Zen 3 is another nail in Intel's coffin, unfortunately.
No, Intel's
actually, this is fortunate in many ways because competition is always good for the consumer.
Do you really believe that though, that this is a coffin?
No, I don't think so. So I think people on the internet are really dramatic when they talk about like the recent AMD Intel thing. They're like, oh, AMD's taking so much more market share, which is true. Like AMD has the products that are much better for the price of performance, which is true. But also Intel is doing just fine because Intel doesn't make its money from this kind of sales.
Gamers.
Yeah. So, here's the thing though, Zen 3 is really exciting because I'm pretty sure, I don't have like all the specs off the top of my head, but I know it brings a better IPC.
Yeah.
And it brings, I think that's the main improvement, if I remember right.
That's the main improvement.
And then they have a bit more precise turbos, I think.
So, I feel like gamers should have such an advantage in Comp Arc. Because like I never heard the term IPC until I took Comp Arc, but gamers use it all the time.
Do you think gamers understand what the IPC is, or do they just know that
they just know that more IPC is more betters?
Yeah, say the fancy red company says the IPC is better than the blue company. So obviously,
well, okay, that's actually significant though, because what that means is Intel has always been better, or not always, but it's been historically better for gaming, because games do not use that many cores, and AMD's current advantage is they have higher core count at lower prices. Yeah. Although now they're changing their pricing strategy, so they're actually outpricing Intel, which is kind of like It's this whole marketing flex where you're trying to appear more premium and it actually works. But besides the point, the problem was Intel has had higher clock speeds at higher IPCs. So they've always had better single core performance. And that's why Zen 3 is actually really significant, because now the IPC on Team Red is increasing and their clock speeds are still lower than Intel's. But if they have a significant enough IPC jump, then that means their single core performance can actually beat Intel's, which means AMD Zen 3 will be not only better multi-threaded, which AMD continues to absolutely stomp Intel in, but now it'll actually be better gaming, at least until Intel releases their next generation.
Will this set my computer on fire though?
No, their TDPs are looking better because I think they're
Really?
using a more refined version of
Caps out at 105 watts.
So the TDPs are the same, it looks like, from
Yeah.
current.
Wow. So when can we expect to buy machines with this?
Did they say?
I don't know.
They didn't say exactly when you can buy it.
They're
I
usually
feel like-
just a few months off. Like it's not usually that long.
It might be. I think it'll be ready for the holidays. I want.
I feel like-
that sounds right.
Yeah.
I feel like we just bought Xavier, right?
Well, Xavier is pretty. So Xavier uses a 3900,
Yeah. Which
Right.
is
3900X, which is only one generation behind.
I don't know why. I mean, I guess I know why they skipped 4 to catch up.
4
with
is their
mobile,
So they made their mobile 4,
Which.
and then this is
Okay.
still technically a newer architecture than that. So they've.
So
they've
I guess for the viewers, one question is, should people wait to get this?
as opposed to what?
If they're looking to buy a PC in the next year or so, should they wait to see this is available?
If they're looking to buy in the next year, then I'd say yes, because
But if you.
it's literally just better price to performance.
Yeah.
If you like, it should be. We don't have benchmarks right now, but it should just be better price to performance.
Like,
Or if depending on how much the last generation drops in price, because the last generation is still very competitive.
Yeah. My
Alright.
opinion is if you need something now, just buy whatever is newest now. But if you
Yeah.
can wait, like, just wait. Like,
Should they go to
incrementally update
Dell.com?
stuff.
should we go to Dell.com, see if I can get
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
So like AMD also released like the XT line of their current 3000 series, which is just like a very minor performance bump.
Yeah.
So you could just, if you really need one right now, you can just pick that up.
Are
Are socketed ARM chips ever going to become a thing? You know what? Now that Apple is going ARM based for their primary platform, it might be a thing.
Well, also Nvidia buying ARM, right?
Well, I don't know.
I think
if
that's going to be
NVIDIA
less
is
of an
going-
effect.
Yeah, I don't think Nvidia is going to start selling, because you also have to get like ARM boards and like ARM, like the sockets in general. I don't think we'll see an.
But I
ARM...
feel Apple though wouldn't do a socket thing. It would just do a system on chip, right?
Yeah, no, they're gonna do a system on a chip.
Yeah, but
It would
if they're
do socketed.
pushing development for the ARM instruction set,
It will encourage more people to see. I don't know what, like, Intel and AMD aren't going to be like, well, now we have to compete with Apple Silicon.
But I think the problem with ARM though, it's not just ARM. It's like ARM plus vendor extensions, right?
Yeah.
And no one's gonna be able to copy Apple's vendor extensions.
That's the biggest problem. Yeah.
And so like I don't think you can make like a
you're not gonna be able to dev.
Apple clone
yeah,
and
no.
to make a separate dev kit for Apple hardware.
And I don't think x86 is going to die anytime soon.
Yeah.
Even if Apple, yes, Apple's a huge player, but they're not going to kill x86.
No,
no,
themselves.
I don't think so.
unfortunately.
Too much business and other stuff runs on x86.
I would love to see x86 die, or just
Wow.
get actual real competition. But
The
Yeah,
problem
they
is
do have
x86,
competition.
like,
well,
everything
like,
in
real
server is
competition.
x86.
Yeah, say the server market. I think Torvald said something about
y'all sleeping on Power PC, man.
Bro, power.
PowerPC is dead.
No,
it's not dead.
IBM still makes power.
They do,
Dude, it's not
but
dead.
Let's
it's
see.
not. It has no practical applications.
I'm gonna try. Dude, workstations, man.
IBM
What
Raptor.
workstations?
Raptor. Type in Raptor Power PC.
Raptor
You
Power
got-
Systems.
Yeah, dude.
I don't think this is what you want.
That's not
That is
ain't
not
it,
what you
Chief.
want.
That's not it. No, there's a Raptor. You gotta type in Power PC.
Same thing. It's the
No.
uppercase Raptor PCs, the Talos.
Yeah, tell us. I think that's what
It's
it is.
got PCI Express 4.0. Okay.
Ooh,
It's got DDR4. Okay.
cool.
Based on Power 9, 14 nanometers. Got to get that nanometer down.
14 plus.
The power of Talos 2.
I have so my friend Steve that I already mentioned, not Steve from Minecraft. He works for the Power team at IBM.
Oh.
So
Really?
I actually have two friends that work for the Power team, AJ and Steve. So
where is power actually being used then? Is it literally just in like the workstation world?
it's workstation and enterprise play. So think servers that need to do a lot of data processing.
The
Okay.
pricing is not very competitive.
There are some workloads that
That are
PowerPC
heavily
is
favored.
that are heavily favored. I think particularly very multi-threaded code. I think you look at this, the core count's pretty high. So
for 4 cores, it costs $500. But you can get
Woof.
CPUs up to 22 cores for $4,000.
Woof.
That is not competitive, my man.
$4,000 gets
But
you a 64 core Threadripper.
you're comparing, two different
It's apples to
architectures.
oranges, though.
You could get
They're
Epic
completely-
at
yeah.
that point. Like,
You're comparing two different architectures. You can't quite look at the core count.
Not to
and you're
mention, like
for instance,
Epic has
the
huge
Raspberry Pi.
problems.
The Raspberry Pi has
it's now
like 4 cores.
Yeah, that's
So-
very fair.
I don't think anyone's saying it's a world beater. So
I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's actually funny, like if you use Epic as a workstation chip or the 64 core Threadripper, Windows has like a cap on how many threads can be assigned to a
Mhm.
single process. So literally, like if you have like a certain processes that you want to use all the cores, it just can't.
Well, you have to get like the special like Windows Server version, I think.
that
Yeah, and
sounds
even then
terrible.
you have to write specific application code
Yeah.
to enable it. Pretty sure.
That sounds terrible. All right, let's move on. So AMD is also in the news for possibly buying a company called Xilinx, which
Yep.
some of you should be familiar with from Logic Design, right?
No,
So, Zephyr,
Logic
what's-
Design's Altera.
Oh, well, explain to us what this buyout or this talk is about.
So Xilinx makes FPGAs, and they are a huge competitor to Intel's FPGA division because they make arguably the best FPGAs currently. So I heard nothing about the build up to this until they said like AMD, is essentially almost done deal acquiring Xilinx. I'm not really sure what their aim is here, to be honest. I don't know if it's just because they're trying to like diversify the markets they compete in, or I don't know.
I don't really understand it either, but
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
it's
But
provocative.
Intel
It's
acquired
provocative.
Altera, and AMD's just got
Wait, they
one up
did?
Intel on everything
Yeah,
now.
Intel owns
Like
Altera.
years ago, yeah.
Oh, this is like weird. That's news to me.
Yeah. So since Intel acquired Altera, AMD's got to acquire the better one, which is Xilinx.
All right. Well, let's talk about the really important product
The
announcement
Fruit
for
phone?
this week. The Fruit phone. There's now 4 Fruit phones.
Yes.
Yep,
There are 4 Fruit
in
phones.
varying sizes. I'm really excited to hear when they release the iPhone 11 or 13, and they're like, it now has 120 hertz. Woo,
So
it's
what
so
are these
new.
4 different sizes? Why are there 4 sizes?
So it's because people have different sized hands, my guy. You have little baby hands, right?
Yeah, I kind of do.
Yeah.
People have different hands and different budgets, more importantly.
I feel like they're leaning too so there's 4 iPhones, just the iPhone 12 mini, which
Yep.
is priced at $699 for some
Yep.
people, but others it's not.
Yeah.
There's the iPhone 12, which is like, the standard iPhone, I guess.
Which is $799, I think.
$799. So that's if you compare like the iPhone 11 to the iPhone 12, that's $100 price hike.
But the mini is the same price as the 11, right?
Yes,
So
Well,
so they start at the same price.
roughly.
Let's talk about some controversies that I've been
Apple
reading about.
lies. What is
Well, the
story?
first one is this whole we're not going to include the charger because we want to save the environment, which sounds like total BS.
So here's the thing, though. Apple is in their release on the iPhone 12, they demoed their new. They have a MagSafe wireless charger, or
Yeah,
MagSafe. I mean,
Sure.
it's wireless to the
It's
phone, but
basically
there's obviously
just a
still
magnetic
wire there.
Qi charging pad on the back of your phone.
Yeah. So now, when you purchase your iPhone, you have the option, because it's not included, to purchase, a peasant wired charger
So let's see.
or a
Here's the
MagSafe one. And they're like
Right.
touting MagSafe accessories too.
Right, but
So
here's
it
the thing
seems
though.
like they're just trying to go there.
But here's the thing though. Like, suppose I was a peasant and I somehow
Yeah.
managed to buy an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
I then get to have the
The luxury.
privilege of buying
Yep.
a charger,
Yes, sir.
which is going to come with its own packaging
Yes, sir.
and
Yes.
other crap.
And
How's
if
that
you
helping
buy,
the environment? How's
No,
that
and
helping the environment?
the worst part is if you buy the wireless one, right? Those things are terribly inefficient. Wireless charging sucks. So it's
See, but Apple has reinvented wireless charging. You fail to understand that stuff.
no, they haven't. It's a 15-watt terrible efficiency basic.
Why is it still
wireless
lightning?
charger.
Why is it
And
still lightning?
I don't know.
Because they can't
And
make
why-
money if they don't sell you lightning stuff.
What do you mean they can't make money? They're making huge margins on this phone already.
See, Apple makes a ton of money with the licensing the lightning port to people. They don't get to collect those fees.
Yeah.
It
And
makes
they
complete
on the
sense.
iPhone they can still argue that's because the device is so thin. They can
Yeah.
still, it's a terrible argument because there are thinner phones with Type-C. But they can still ride that horse.
Yeah.
It's like a classic Apple thing too, because I bet in future launches they'll say the future of smartphones is here. We now have 120 hertz displays. This is like a classic Apple thing. They take a feature that's existed in other segments and then tout it as new eventually.
Yeah, but
It gets
Apple did it
published.
right.
Yeah, say
Yeah,
Apple did it right.
exactly.
So-
And I think another huge controversy is they still have that massive notch, which
Yeah, that
other
notch is
manufacturers
not
have gotten rid
attractive.
of.
so
Yeah.
Notch is not attractive.
it's very unattractive at first, but after even after an hour or two of using the phone, you forget about it. I feel like people blow the notch way out of the water.
Well, I think it's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair. But then at the same time, if you're in the market for a phone in general and not just an iPhone, then obviously you might be considering Android phones, which have had a way smaller disturbance than that.
I don't think it's
So
a big deal.
Emery wants to know what you mean by notch.
So
On the display, the little cutout
this
for
little
the Face
cutout
ID.
thing. Oh, it's gonna see how there's screen and then it has this little peninsula. That's a better name for it. We should call it a peninsula.
It is rather large.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Do they use the space on the sides,
Yeah.
icons and stuff?
Yeah. So it has
Yeah. So your battery and
I don't know if you
and
can see that.
cellular.
So
and
there was
notifications.
a version of Android, I think version 10 or something, where because they had to accommodate stupid notches,
Yeah.
you couldn't put icons in the middle of the screen,
Yeah.
even if you didn't have a notch.
I think
that's
that got
just-
patched.
That's just like,
But also, Android's
You're
notch
killing me, man.
implementation is
Was
so much
terrible.
better.
Oh, I thought it was
because-
terrible.
No.
oh, I'm sure it was terrible.
No, I meant hardware.
I'm just saying.
Hardware
Oh,
wise.
hardware. Okay, I was the software side. I feel like it does.
The software side has also gotten a lot better because now you have pretty much all it used to be where it would just be a solid color based on your application, and now a lot of applications do use that extends through that space, and you have notification and just much more real estate there. So I'm surprised that Apple hasn't gotten rid of it. Although Face ID is really nice.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the second controversy, which is the whole pricing thing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it sounds
Is that
sounds like Apple doesn't appreciate poor people that use T-Mobile. So that's what I'm
or
hearing.
unlocked people.
Wait, I haven't heard about this controversy.
So like if you go to buy the iPhone 12 mini, right? It says starting from $699, correct?
Yep. Yeah.
But then if you choose your carrier
Okay.
for AT&T and Verizon, it just says they get a $30 instant discount. You know?
Oh, so it's actually $730.
It's actually $729 for anyone else who isn't an AT&T or Verizon customer.
So is that because they just have
So-
like deals with AT&T, Verizon, like
Basically.
rebate type deals?
I don't know if you saw any of the event, but like yes,
I didn't see the event. No, I only saw
Okay.
feedback from it.
But it was like a good like 10% of it was a Verizon 5G commercial.
I did
So-
hear that a lot of like the iPhone slot was taken up by just talking about 5G in general.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I think 5G people overhype 5G.
5G is what gave us coronavirus, so I'm not sure why they're
That's a
hyping
good
that.
point.
Please no.
That's a very good point.
You're gonna that actually hurts.
Like,
How would that be possible?
Dude, I
Where
don't
is
know.
science?
Ask Bill Gates.
ask
okay.
Fauci, dude. Fauci.
Where is
Ask
science?
Bill Gates. Where is science? It's in retirement. That's what happened.
I heard the jury's still out on science.
Oh my god.
But like I don't know. I feel like 5G is super overblown in general.
I think
in the entire
5G is-
industry.
Great in in cities with high network congestion.
Yeah, but
You know, I heard Father Jenkins was using 5G.
at
That's
the
what
White
happened.
House,
Yeah.
that's very likely actually.
I have a good source on Twitter that tells me this.
Oh,
Cool.
Coronavirus ND. Good source.
It's NT.
Ah,
Except for the buildings. If you don't have like.
No, dude, that's why our buildings have such terrible Wi-Fi. It's to protect us from the 5G.
Oh, okay.
Notre Dame's
that
just
makes even
watching
less
out.
sense.
That makes
Notre
a lot
Dame is
more
just
sense.
watching out for the students.
How does
Notre
that
Dame loves
reduce
the
our
students.
Wi-Fi?
Well, see,
Nor-
no, Zeppelin,
Notre
think
Dame
about it
loves
like
the students.
this, right? It's like
Okay.
the buildings are like our atmosphere, right? And the 5G is the ozone from the sun.
The ozone from the sun?
From the sun. You heard this
What
first,
the-
Zeppelin. I don't know my science. We're,
Exactly. None of
See,
no,
but-
none of this is science.
Remember when I said, Notre Dame kids are like the top 2% of the country?
no,
I mean
this
ozone
makes
from the
sense.
sun. The sun does not beam ozone into our atmosphere. Oh man. Let me just put this out there. 5G is a high frequency,
Oh,
much
what's-
higher than any that's not the no.
See, there's the sun. See the
No.
picture? Ozone?
No.
Okay, but this is not an accurate picture because
Oh.
what I'm seeing here is that the Earth is round when we all know it's flat.
It's
The
still
Earth is
just-
flat.
No, it's a
Disc.
disc.
So
It's
this
a
is
disc.
fake news.
It's a disc. See right here? This is the water cycle. There's the sun. There's the ozone. It looks like the ozone's coming from the sun. I'm just saying.
Sorry, we devolved so hard. I'm
This is
sorry.
the water
All right,
Yeah.
let's try to get it back on track
Okay.
here.
Yeah, so we're talking about
5G. No, let's move on from 5G.
Yeah, that's just
So IBM is splitting off into two companies.
Yep.
So my friends that I mentioned, Steve and AJ, who work for IBM, they're sticking with the main IBM, and then like a bunch of like service consulting stuff is going to quote unquote Newco, and basically I think left to die. That's my impression, but I don't know. But this is kind of weird. I don't know if I've seen like a company splitting like this before. But
Yeah, I don't
it
know.
is what it is, I guess. Or I guess it's
See.
not consulting. It's managed infrastructure. That sounds like consulting.
Yeah, it does sound like consulting.
So, do you think that this will inspire other companies to do the same, or is this just IBM being weird?
Well, here's a question. I'm going to ask the same question that we talked about with Microsoft, right? Like, is IBM to you an attractive place to work for? Like, do people at Notre Dame go like, I totally want to work for Big Blue?
I don't think IBM has the same reputation or like same like not like market share, but like mind share. I don't know if that makes sense. Like you like can talk about what Microsoft does. That's very apparent, but like ask a random person what IBM does. You know, what do they do?
They do Watson.
Exactly. Like, you know.
And Watson brought us our Corona, AI.
You know, people are like, I don't know what IBM sells really, other than digital transformations or, like what is digital transformation?
But the thing is, IBM is one of the few companies that do recruit from Notre Dame. And I do know a lot of students that end up there or intern there. I'm just wondering, like, what's my sense though is that they're not considered like a top destination.
I believe that absolutely.
Although they invested in like the Notre Dame Ethics Center, blah blah blah, and so is that weird? Like Notre Dame students, at least computer science students, are like IBM is just not attractive. IBM also, by the way, runs our daily health check. So
shout out to the people still doing the daily health check.
Way to make IBM less attractive to Notre Dame students.
Wow, J Mash has a horror story.
Yeah.
So J Mash says that a recent Notre Dame grad got the job there, and then was immediately transitioned to customer service.
Oof.
Probably not what they wanted if they were looking to a software engineering position. So I don't want to cast aspersions because I have friends that work at IBM, and IBM is a partner with the University of Notre Dame. But my impressions, again, on the ground, talking to students and stuff, is that IBM is not it's not a prestigious place. It's not attractive. Based on what I read online, it sounds horrible. But
at least not prestigious, maybe from a software development perspective.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So
yeah,
IBM is watching.
I'm sure Watson is crunching this.
Yeah,
so
I mean, IBM does have all our entire health history for the last few months.
So let's talk about Linux here. Let's talk about some open source finally. So let's talk about Linux 5.9 kernel release. Who here is running it? Zephyr, are you running it yet?
I'm in the process. I will be after the bug is over.
Let's see.
Are you Pac-Manning right now?
I am yaying.
Oh, you're
yes,
yaying?
I'm Pac-Manning.
Okay. So 5.9, it doesn't sound like a big update from what I've read. A lot of graphics driver type stuff, some NVMe storage stuff.
Okay.
Wait, what are you doing?
I'm DNF upgrading so I can see what kernel I'm on. But.
So, I don't know if everyone in chat knows this, but pretty much a lot of the Linux kernel is drivers. Is this right,
yes.
Professor Bowie? Like
yes.
the grand majority of it.
Grand majority.
And speaking of drivers, right? So AMD released new graphics drivers, and they obviously got pushed into the Linux kernel.
So this is just the AMD graphics drivers.
Literally just the AMD graphics drivers, making up, what is this, 10.5% of the Linux kernel?
10% of the Linux kernel is
AMD,
the AMD
graphics
power.
How many people run AMD graphics? Like, it's a
probably like three people.
A fair amount.
I mean, it's a fair amount. It's not like trivial, but like that's still a huge portion of the kernel.
I would say historically, NVIDIA is higher than AMD.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would say Intel is probably the most common.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's a very small user base, and then for such a huge part of the Linux kernel.
And then, based on some of the comments I read, I've heard that the code wasn't even that good.
Really?
Yeah, the AMD drivers are mediocre.
They said, like, I mean, it's nice that there's open source in the kernel, but like
the proprietary drivers are way better.
Like the code itself is not that good. No, not the AMD proprietary. I heard that proprietary AMD driver is worse.
Oh. I don't use Linux. I just from my experience with people with AMD
So-
cards, they prefer the proprietary ones.
But
I
mean,
I've
but
heard
I
the
do think this
proprietary
is
AMD were terrible.
I do think this is interesting though, that like Zephyr said, so much of the kernel, like all the stuff we talked about in OS class, that's like maybe like 10-20% of the actual kernel code. Everything else is just like drivers.
The interesting
know, like-
thing is like in the NVIDIA driver, the open source NVIDIA driver that's packaged in the kernel is really scaled down in terms of like capability. So if you were to use it to like play video games, you're gonna have a much worse performance. That means that like the driver itself is, I think, a lot smaller. And most people who run like NVIDIA cards and Linux, they end up using either like the more fleshed out one that you have to manually download, or they use the proprietary, like I'm running proprietary NVIDIA driver.
RMS is crying, dude.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I purchased my graphics card from NVIDIA and I'll use their code.
RMS would cry that you would support NVIDIA at all. But
I need,
Sad.
well, what, should I make my own GPU?
That's why I only support Team Blue, dude. I also use Intel.
How is that
'cause-
any
Intel
better?
is also evil, right?
Yeah, Intel's also evil.
Yeah.
No, they got their GPUs in open source, man.
Yeah, but
The,
that
the
doesn't
drivers.
that doesn't appeal to Richard Stallman. It needs
We'll
to
see
be
if that
I
different,
could-
Bowie.
We'll see if that continues to apply with Intel Z.
I actually am interested in that because I hope it does continue to apply because I might
I doubt it
actually just
will.
I might get a Z. But
I doubt it will. I think because the thing with Z is it's supposed to target a lot of segments. So it's supposed to be like still the same low power integrated stuff, right? That's like one segment of Z.
yeah.
But then also Z is supposed to break into other market segments. They're supposed to be like high power, discrete Z GPUs.
Yeah.
I mean, it would kind of explain it because the Intel graphics drivers lately have been kind of flaky. Like they've gotten worse over time.
Yeah,
So-
as in the ones that have been pushed to Linux.
Yeah. Like, so one of the reasons why the 5.9 kernel was delayed for a few weeks is because at one point, you couldn't even boot up a machine with the Intel graphics.
Nice.
So that's like all the machines that run Linux.
I know, exactly. Which is like, okay, how did you push a version of the kernel? Well, the reality is most people run Linux headless, right?
Yeah.
So it actually, or in a VM, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But that's
I'm-
kind of embarrassing.
I'm expecting that Z graphics, the drivers will split and we'll get like integrated Z. I forget all the names, but like every part of the Z stack has a different name. I think like
Well,
ZLP, like low power. I think that
I've-
might stay open source.
And I'm fine with
But-
that as long as I can do the integrated because I don't like to buy discrete. I'd rather just do integrated. 'Cause I'm a peasant like that. So
What is wrong with you?
I play Minecraft Dungeons. That's all you need to know.
Okay.
But your computer goes burr when it plays Minecraft.
It really
Dungeons.
does. It really does.
Bruh.
All right. Speaking of Arch Linux,
What-
did you watch ArchConf 2020?
What is ArchConf?
So Arch Linux apparently has a conference that they do semi-periodically. I won't say annually because I don't
And what is
think it's
this
annual.
website?
LinuxReviews.com.
Linux Reviews. It's a great website.
It is
It's
actually,
actually-
a legitimately
It's actually
good
a
website.
legit. They
I just
cover
opened it
things
up.
no one else does.
And there's just a woman hugging
A
like
little penguin.
Okay, there is
Some
definitely
plushies?
there's definitely a weeb flavor to this.
Yeah,
Some
like
of the
all
other-
the
this is a really weird sub weeb
all of
culture.
the authors are like K-pop people. It's pretty weird.
It's a but honestly, look at the you just concentrate on the content, okay?
Okay.
Just concentrate on the content.
Okay.
They actually cover, you know, real Linux news, and so no one else I've
Interesting.
seen mention the Arch Linux conference. So
Is that
Anyways-
just because the Arch Linux conference is like pointless?
well, it
Or-
was a series of videos, like you know, Zoom sessions, whatever, or maybe they use Jitsi, who knows, right? And they talked about the project. So if you're an Arch Linux user or a derivative of Arch Linux, and you want to know more about the distribution that you use, you know, straight from the founders and developers, there's some videos that you can watch. So
Are those these
you know-
linked ones down here?
yeah, so they have like you know what the history of distribution, some of the big challenges they're working on, their infrastructure. Like apparently their infrastructure is very ad hoc, which does not surprise me.
Making
said, like,
servers go burr?
Yeah, they said like some of their servers are just like literally in someone's basement and something like that. I mean, again, not surprised, but
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I think it's always interesting to know like how do these projects actually run? What are they doing? Because each project really is not just software; it's also a community of people. It's relationships. Again, just to plug my course, that's something that I try to have you get a sense of in my course.
And to also plug your course, I felt much more comfortable talking in the Arch Linux IRC channel after taking your course. So there's some cool
there you
people
go.
there. Some of the
So how many times did you get RTFM?
I don't think any times.
Really? Oh, that's
Yeah.
You
good.
need to ask more stupid questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of stupid things, Firefox may soon display sponsored top sites on the new tab page.
Okay.
Let's go.
Listen,
Mozilla.
Firefox is talking so much smack about uneffing the internet. And here they
Right,
are.
last
Literally,
week
we just talked about this. What the heck?
They got to make money though, bro.
Yeah, they do have.
They
to make
do.
money.
Especially since their user base just yode itself.
I mean,
wait,
would
so
you-
is this
would
part of
you-
their new concept? Like this
would you-
whole new business concept for Mozilla?
would you be mad though? I mean, is it so bad to have a sponsored ad or page
Nah.
when you
It
do a
wouldn't
new
bother me that
tab?
much. Like Edge does this too, I'm pretty sure.
You have
And
to
you could just
turn it
check a
on,
box.
but-
Yeah, you just uncheck a box. It's kind of frustrating though, for just the sheer like mixed messages thing.
I feel like we're slipping back towards like not quite shareware, but like I remember like a decade or maybe 15 years ago, right? Like you can get like a piece of software that had ads in them. And literally
Adware, right?
an ad, yeah, like an ad banner in the program,
Yeah.
right? Or you can pay for it, which is basically what they do on mobile.
Yep, that's the
Right?
mobile paradigm.
Would you be like, okay, for the peasants out there that want to pay money, you can use this piece of software, say Firefox, but there'll be ads. Or if you want to remove the ads, just pay like $5 a month.
Okay, here's the thing.
Would you be
I'm
okay with that if you had the option?
No, I'm okay with that, but the option is also like kind of ridiculous in this segment because we have FOSS browsers like Chromium that are well developed and regularly maintained that make it so like I'm fine with paying money for software. Like I pay money for like, photo editing software and that's fine. But I wouldn't want to pay for something that I can get a equally, if not better, free version of. If it was like a browser that was significantly better than anything else out there, yeah, I'd pay $5 to not have ads, but sure. But
it's not just have ads. Suppose the Firefox pitches, you get this ultra private browser, and because you're paying money, we'll crank up all the anti-tracking stuff up, right?
Yeah, but I can
We'll
already do that.
we'll also give you a VPN. We'll give you a Pocket.
Their
We'll
VPN
give you.
sucks. I don't trust them.
Yeah.
This is
You're
what
not
I'm
buying the
saying.
pitch.
Like, if it was for
You're
a
not buying
different
the pitch.
product where it was legitimately better than anything else out there, then sure.
I feel so bad because I feel like our whole podcast is like Firefox sucks.
I loved Firefox. I was a Firefox user.
As was I. Back before Chrome came around, that was like the browser to use.
I
feel like I was
user until we started this podcast.
All right, so I quit before then, but I was a Firefox user for a long time, for like over a decade. So,
Amen.
Yeah, you're a Firefox shill.
no, not anymore. I'm all about the cute browser.
Oh, cute browser? Ooh.
Speaking of QT, KDE,
Nice one.
KDE,
Oh.
KDE Plasma 5.20 came out. Zeppin,
Yep.
are you getting this?
Yeah.
Are you getting? Have you already used it, or are you upgrading now?
When did it release?
Like 2 days ago.
2 days
Okay, then no. I'll be running it later tonight.
So does this
think-
excite you?
Yeah, it excites me. I follow KDE their stack more than probably any other open source.
Actually, can you play the video down below? There's a video
Sure.
down below. It's only like 2 minutes. High level overview of the new changes.
I think they fixed a bug that's been really tricky.
I'm glad they make these videos. So this, the K runner as a floating window. How do you feel about that?
Doesn't matter to me whatsoever if it's floating or if it's happening to some part of the screen. So, see, it is important in the sense that like one of the best things about Plasma is how insanely configurable it is,
Yeah.
without needing to do like really obscure like textile editing, right? So, I'm all for more configuration options. They've already got
Like-
a ton of configuration options. More is good.
I think in this video, this is the first time I've seen KD. I'm like, you know what? It doesn't look like hot garbage. Like, it kind of looks okay.
So, to that, I want to say you turn your eyes from pretty much every Linux, like every desktop environment, and KDE has looked like this for a very long time at this point.
I don't know. I feel like there's something a little bit more refined about this.
This has been
But
this UI
haven't-
style
I haven't
has been
used
in
it.
place since Plasma 5.
is this Breeze? This is Breeze, right?
This
Yeah,
is
I
great,
think
but
it's
like this entire UI has been in existence with Plasma 5, like unchanged. They haven't changed the look of things yet.
I don't know. Maybe it's all the versions of KD I've tried. It's just like there's just something off. Like it just doesn't feel right. But
Yeah,
just looking
and I
at
don't
it,
know if a lot of that's
this
like
version.
they've tried to like change the out of the box experience to be better. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just very worried that XFCE is gonna like totally like screw everything up, and I'm gonna have to find a new home. And so, I think Plasma is gonna be my backup if XFCE, really messes up their next
Really?
upgrade.
You're gonna migrate from X to like Wayland and everything?
No, I'm not gonna
Oh,
use
Plasma
Wayland.
is
I'm just gonna
X11.
use. I'm just gonna use.
they
QT.
apparently have a bunch of new Wayland features too.
Yeah, that's because
Yeah.
they've been trying to do Wayland. Like this is a whole ongoing thing for KDE in general. They've been increasing their Wayland support.
But
So-
it's never good.
You can
It's
now
never enough.
unplug screens on Wayland.
Exactly.
It's still worse than X11, like Plasma.
Exactly. That's a feature. You can unplug your screen.
Yeah. You can metal mouse click to paste. That's never.
I'm a huge fan of Plasma just because it seems like it gives you a ton of customizability, but still doesn't have like it's better performing in most things than like GNOME, for example.
Yeah.
So
All right, let's get to our last topic here. This might get a little political here.
Facebook.
So this
man.
is actually hot news from today.
I didn't see this.
Yep.
So this is like apparently there's something about Joe Biden's son's emails, blah blah blah. That's not really the thing we are talking about.
yeah, who
The thing we
cares?
want to talk about is that apparently, so this was published by the New York Post, the article about the emails, but Twitter and Facebook are not letting people share the link, the URL
yeah.
to the article.
Yeah.
Like, so we sort of mentioned this, with antitrust and censorship, but like, do you think that is a power these platforms, one, should have, and two, should exercise?
So, I think in a sense where these are private platforms, and we are just users of their free service, it's like I don't think it's necessary. It's scummy. It's really
Yeah.
scummy, but like I think it's well within their. I'm not sure it's within their right actually, but it seems like it should be as like it's a private platform and they can choose what content to host and whatnot. But I think that there should be enough community pushback on this, where this kind of behavior from Twitter is just not like they just don't do it. Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah. Dude, it's the deep state.
But
I
this
mean-
is like you don't have to use Facebook and Twitter to like share your
But
news.
could use.
I think, but the argument though is that Twitter, Facebook, social media, these are the modern public squares,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And that they shouldn't be editorializing. They should not be suppressing free speech.
I definitely don't think they should be, just to be clear. And for some reason, people haven't adopted IRC as the.
No, you want to use
You know.
Mastodon, dude. You can start tooting at people.
That's like saying you can like make flyers and hand them out to people. That's very different than being able
To
speak on a stage, right? Like
Yeah.
that's
yeah,
No, I definitely don't think this is something these companies should do just because this is one of the ways they market themselves, right? It's the ability to connect with so many people so easily.
well. So Jay Smash here has a good point. He said, look, a lot of people are arguing that these platforms need to stop disinformation. They need to fight the Russian trolls and stuff like that. And whether or not this falls under that category, what people are saying is that they need to take a bigger hand in managing the information. I think another thing that came up this week is that, for instance, Facebook is now not allowing people to submit articles about like Holocaust denial, right? Like, I think everyone here, at least 3 of us, would agree that that's not a good, like, Holocaust denial is bad, right? But
yeah,
I would
should
agree.
should people be allowed to even discuss it, to talk about it, to entertain it, like to share articles about it? Or should you say that's too dangerous and we need to suppress, the possibility of that bad information from being shared?
Yeah, it's messy, and essentially people are calling for both ways.
Yeah.
They're calling for these platforms to be open, right? But also for, like you said, I don't know how you strike a good middle ground there, because all this stuff is completely subjective in terms of what's disinformation and.
How about this? Who determines? Who should determine that what is good, what's bad, or what's allowed, what's not allowed?
Ugh, that's a loaded question. I don't know what.
Okay, so let me bring this to Reddit, right? Like, for a long time, Reddit was like, we're the front page of the internet. We're the bastion of free speech, and Reddit had great things like our Unix porn, right, or our NBA, right? But it had also terrible things, that I won't name, right? But it was a platform where you could say both good and bad things. But over time, they've begun killing more subreddits under the guise of this is hate speech or this is violence, right?
Yeah.
Like, how much are we willing to be like, you're right, like, we should talk about these things, or we shouldn't have a space for these things?
I don't know. Like, damn, that's tough.
And I mean, to bring this to open source, right? There are open source alternatives to Reddit.
Yeah.
Twitter, so you mentioned Mastodon, for instance, right? And so there are people trying to like make it more decentralized, to make different platforms. But the problem, like, I've been trying to find like a Reddit alternative. Like, I try not to go on Reddit anymore. I only go to certain subreddits because they're just really good aggregators for that information. But I don't go like on the homepage anymore. I don't go to like the general Reddit, things. I try to avoid it.
But nothing.
But it's
nothing exists.
really hard to
that's
find
a good
alternative.
competitor.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's really hard to find because there's no critical mass.
Yeah, I uninstalled Reddit actually.
Wow.
When I got a new phone because my last one died, I didn't install Reddit.
Oh, what phone did you get?
Good decision.
What phone did you get?
I got an S20 after my PH1 died.
Rip.
S20 is a good phone.
Magical Sprint heavy discounts. So.
Oh.
I do what's economically best.
Green bubble. Yeah, green bubble.
Well, just to wrap this up, I think this is an issue that, that anyone that works for any of these social media companies, which could be any of our students, right? This is something that you're going to have to grapple with, because it's becoming more and more of an issue of, are these, as Zephin said, are these private platforms or are they public squares? And
The
if
public
so,
square
like,
is owned by private companies.
Yeah, say
well, if that's true, like, what do you do for moderation? I think
Yeah.
most people agree that no moderation is not the solution.
yeah.
But where's the line of what you can moderate, what you should moderate?
I think you should be. I think maybe what would help is just a more robust appeals system. So if they make decisions like this, then maybe, for example, the New York Times has more grounds to argue against their decision to like block content.
This is New York Post.
Sorry,
Yeah.
New York
Whatever,
Post,
yeah. So I think, but so you're saying that people who have more following should get to dictate what goes on the platform?
No, I'm saying there should be an appeals process that besides just like contacting
You know,
their
that's
support.
that's what a lot of people on YouTube have been asking for, right? Because like YouTube channels have been like, banned and
YouTube is
taken
its
down,
own
right?
hot mess.
Yeah.
In so many ways.
And a lot of people are asking for transparency in terms of how things get taken down or demonetized and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that's the same idea though, because they're trying to moderate that content, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is an ongoing problem. I don't know if there's I don't think there's a technical solution to this, but it's something tech people have to think about.
Yeah.
And it's something you talk about in ethics, which you
We've
will not be
already
taking with
talked
me,
about, but
which you will never take it with me. So there we go.
I'd rather take it with you.
I get to write another ethics paper because
Nice. What's the topic?
I don't know yet. It hasn't been assigned yet. But
Oh,
senior
Oh.
design, senior design has an ethics unit.
Mm.
oh,
The
really?
Final paper
Nice.
due like the final day of class to add to the end of the semester load.
All right, let's wrap up the podcast with our COVID corner. Let's start off with some more fake news. It says Father Jenkins completes COVID-19 isolation period.
Yay! Let's go, Jenkins.
Congrats, Jenkins. Does that mean he has like a yellow pass or is that a green pass
I
now?
think it's a green pass now.
So he can finally come back to campus?
Yeah, he was
Well,
barred
he never
from
really
campus.
left camp. Wasn't he just in his apartment, or did he get put
No,
somewhere
they shipped
else?
him off to the gulag.
Oh, gotcha. Because he lives
Did
in
they
Fisher,
really?
I think.
Did he leave Fisher?
No.
I'm
They're-
pretty sure he stayed in his apartment.
Yeah, they're not gonna
That's kind
do
of
that.
that's
to
kind
him.
of sketch, man.
Bro, you can't kick the president of the university out.
I'm saying follow the
No, they-
protocol.
Hey,
They
man,
moved
he
into,
is
like, an
above
isolated
the
building in the main
protocol.
building.
He is above the
Well-
protocol.
Well, apparently the student senate decided to formally denounce Father Jenkins.
Oh man.
And the faculty
Uh.
senate is in the process of voting on a resolution to either denounce him as well or to praise him.
What? Wait,
Well,
what?
The faculty sounds very confused.
So there's a split in the faculty where some faculty are like, Father Jenkins has done an amazing job, given all the things, and so we should actually praise him for his strong leadership and, not having us go bankrupt and stuff. Then the other side is like, no, he didn't do what the policy said. He violated his own rules. We should censor him.
Cancel him, you mean?
Oh my god.
And so they asked each department to poll their faculty members. I was asked of my opinion, and I respectively declined to state my opinion. So
Jesus.
I'm not gonna take a stand here.
Nah,
so,
dude, you have to stand out with one of the groups.
No.
Do you hate your boss or do you love your boss? Basically pick.
He's not really your boss.
I think this
Right?
is a
Like-
I think this is a sideshow that's not even important.
Dude, it's just like what is the faculty gonna do if they denounce him? Like, cool.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting because I think Monk Malloy was actually got a vote no confidence. There's a book I read called
Oh, man.
Domers.
Huh.
It was written about Notre Dame in the 90s, and the experience of Notre Dame and stuff. And it concentrated, actually, really funny, the tension between faculty and administration, which has existed ever since I've been here. So, the reality is that Notre Dame, even though we have quote unquote a student senate or faculty senate, even though we quote unquote have faculty governance, the reality is is that Notre Dame is a kingdom. It is not a democracy.
Yeah.
Well, it's a
Ultimate
company.
power resides in the president of the in administration. You know, this is very different than say when I was at Eau Claire. In Eau Claire, the faculty could actually block things from the chancellor because they can vote on things. The Senate had power, right? And
Percentage of suggestion.
I'm just saying, like, when students say, "Oh, the administration, has all the power. They don't have to listen to us." Well, that's kind of true.
They don't.
They do have all the power. Even
Yeah,
from the faculty perspective, they have the power. Now, I do think that overall, the administration in university has tried to be as transparent and forthright as possible. I'm not just saying that to save my job or anything. I honestly
'Cause
do
you're
believe
jaded
that.
and don't.
I honestly do believe that. I think, as we said last time, right? Most students, after going through this, what do they want?
I
Germs.
don't know.
They want in person.
Oh well, yeah, obviously.
They want to be here, right? Like,
Well, yeah, the reason we're here is because students were like, we want to do this.
exactly.
Like, that was-
But that's my point, right? Like, the faculty are saying, "Oh, at the beginning, the faculty were like, or a certain percentage of the faculty were like, let's not open up at all. It's not safe. Let's just do it online."
Yeah.
And I totally understood that perspective, right? But what I'm saying is that the reality is students want in person.
Yep.
And
At
that
least they
although
did.
it was
At the start of the
Oh.
semester.
although we messed up at the beginning, although there were missteps and the whole people were not getting food when they're in the gulag and everything was terrible, I think since then though, I think we've done an okay job, barring
Yeah.
the president, barring the football team, right? But in terms of
Wait, not just the president though. Weren't
I
there
know.
other faculty with him during this whole fiasco?
Yeah, I think some of the law school profs got it too. If you look at
Yeah.
the dashboard, that employee number went up. So
I think so. According to this other article, right? Weren't there like 17?
there are 17 faculty that
Professors
went,
or
but we don't know how
faculty?
many. But we don't know how many got it.
Yeah.
So
This letter to the editor is very spicy.
oh, for sure. And that letter is
It's strongly worded.
Yeah.
strongly worded, and it's a law school student still
It's a-
here. So
yeah.
that's brave. That's brave. But I think my overall point though is that yes, there were mistakes. Mistakes have happened. But I think overall though, if you compare to what we've done at Notre Dame to say what UNC did or Michigan State did, we're like way ahead. Like those
Yeah.
schools, they opened up for a week and then they immediately shut down and they just kicked everyone off campus. Like we paused, but we didn't like say go home. We soldiered through. We again, we have 4 weeks left.
Yep.
Now the cases in St. Joe are going up. It's not looking great around the country, but it's very possible we get to the end of the semester, right, where we were able to not send students home. We were able to contain, not eliminate, but contain the number of cases, right? To me, that's probably a big victory, because what the message is going to be to say the next year's students is they're going to look at, say, Stanford or Harvard or whoever our competitors are and be like, look, they didn't even let students come to campus. Notre Dame did. And if you're in high school and you're applying for college right now, are you really going to be like, I'm going to choose the online Harvard experience versus the in-person Notre Dame experience?
Yeah. Any online college experience is gonna suck.
Yeah. We experienced that last semester. It was
Well,
suck.
especially for when you're paying tuition, you're just like you just feel so gypped
Mhm.
because most students already feel like tuition isn't quite worth it. So
Did those colleges that did only online do some sort of tuition refund at all? I don't know.
No.
Really?
Most
I
of
don't
did
think
not.
so.
No.
Wow, that's
Exactly.
Because to refund tuition would to be admitting that the quality of education
would
has like
uh,
is worse.
that makes
Some
sense.
did.
Literally saying you're getting like not your full degree or whatever.
Some did, but most did not.
I guess that makes sense if they admit that the value of education is not as high as they price it to be.
Yeah, then the argument is okay. Well, if I can get a degree for this lower price,
Why
right,
would I?
and still take
Yeah.
all the classes, why am I going in the first place?
I mean, I'll straight up say it. I don't think you guys are getting your money's worth. You know.
Oh yeah,
but-
What's
you said
that?
that from the beginning.
But I would have said that before COVID too. So
Yeah, exactly.
don't pay full price to come to Notre Dame, please. Oh shoot, I can't say that. Sorry. Can we edit this?
No.
We can.
No.
I mean,
but
we
it's already on
can,
the internet,
but
and someone's already clipped it.
yeah.
Okay, let's talk about this last article here.
Moving
Let's
on.
talk about this last article. So this is not Notre Dame specific, but this is people have been asking students how do they feel about going to college in the age of coronavirus, right? And it sounds bleak. You know, this quote is,
Yeah.
I feel like the future I've been working towards my whole life is gone. This comes to the educational experience, the job opportunities that are now missing. I talked to some juniors the other day, and they were just telling me like it's really hard right now to find internships. Like even for CS majors, it's not been. In previous years, they would have a number of suitors, but this year it's not looking so hot. So, I mean, what's your sense?
COVID sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a lot of people. I don't know. I guess just I feel like the ones currently like graduating and the juniors are the ones getting the most ripped off, because hopefully by the time the sophomores are like actually like looking for jobs, COVID won't be an issue. But I don't know. I just feel like we're getting the extremely short end of the stick. But that's just me, because companies aren't hiring as much right now. Like,
How about in terms of your educational experience? Like,
my educational experience? Well, as a senior, the amount of effort I already put into school. If I was a freshman or a sophomore, I would feel extremely upset.
would you in hindsight would have told freshmen, just take a gap year? Would you have told them that?
If I was a freshman going into COVID, or if I was
Yeah.
No, if you were to advise a freshman in hindsight.
Yeah.
who would be in my position today, or
No. Like if you could go back in time to the beginning of this year and talk to a freshman,
Oh.
a prospective freshman.
I don't know. Like, I feel.
I mean, it breaks my heart to go on our Notre Dame and see posts like "I'm lonely, I can't make friends."
Yeah, that sucks
because of
a lot.
because of COVID. Like
That's hard enough as is. To be
Yeah.
honest, we don't. The COVID additional burden, like difficulty to that, is pretty heartbreaking.
like
Yeah.
and I see it pretty regularly, which makes it really sad.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think, Zeph? Like, do you think this whole period in time, because it's going to be a whole year, if not longer, of your lives.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
what do you take out of this? What is your takeaway from this whole experience that you're going through? Like, is there
I don't know.
is there
It's a really complicated question.
Is there a silver lining from this experience? Was there like any positives that came out of this?
For us,
There were there were like personal positives. So like we got sent home right in March or so, and
Yeah.
I needed to get like spine surgery, and I had that done while I was home
oh,
with a really good surgeon, and then I was stuck home, and I could just literally neat at home and recover. So
Okay.
like that was a good experience. It would have been a lot harder to stay at Notre Dame and have that done. But honestly, that's essentially the only silver lining I can think of.
Pass fail was
my
pretty
education.
nice.
No, it was not. I didn't. I decided to just take the GPA hits ultimately.
Oh,
I think everything about my educational experience is, if not the same, then inferior. Like nothing is improved at all, especially if you're in lab-based courses.
Yeah,
and
all
like,
the lab-based classes are.
it's brutal, and even the non-lab-based ones, like remote learning, is not good. It's definitely like a stopgap solution. So I don't know. I find myself like kind of like frustrated in general with maybe the handling of the entire outbreak. I'm in no way qualified to like talk about that, but I feel like it could have been handled better on maybe like a national or even a local regional level. So
Yeah.
COVID's been really hard.
Mike, is there a silver lining out of this whole experience for you?
I don't know. I guess I haven't really thought about it too much, but the silver lining out of having a somewhat less good experience with school and everything else.
I mean, without the Rona, you probably would have lived in a dorm, right?
Yeah,
You wouldn't have experienced living in an apartment by yourself.
probably not. No, I guess I had been because I had been planning on finding my own place. Could I not find a single? But I guess
I mean, I don't think Rona's. So it's a silver lining, but I don't think Rona's like the Rona push to live on your own.
I don't think
worth it.
Rona was like the driving factor for me deciding to move off campus. It was just more an unfortunate. I would have to live with someone, and I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think for me, it's like a bittersweet silver lining. So like, the sweet part, the good part is that, I guess I was really burnt out, like going into the coronavirus timeline, and it made me less burnout because I just wasn't surrounded by people all the time. And it just made me like have to like really think about myself a little bit more. And so in that way, that was good. But the bitter part is that it's just made me more jaded and cynical. And so now I'm not burnt out. Now I'm just not. Now I'm like more apathetic.
Yeah.
And
not an amazing
that's
trait
not necessarily the exit I wanted to take. Going through this.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I just feel like the whole situation is like everything's on pause in some ways.
Yeah.
And in some ways, my life has more certainty in terms of I now know that I'm not going to move away from South Bend, and I won't be looking for new jobs anytime soon because there's no jobs.
But you
so
but you were going to move to California.
I was. Just in that sense, that part of my life is over. So now I'm just like begging to not lose my job. But at the same time, my relationship with my job has drastically changed. Like in ethics, I would say that I didn't view this as a job or a career. I viewed it as a vocation. Like I felt like I was changing lives and I was helping people.
I think a lot of teaching is.
And it's funny because that's what I told your mom when I saw her for JPW last year. Right?
Yeah.
We talked about this with your mom, and she's like, "Oh, that's amazing! I'm so glad."
That was definitely my mom sort of conversation.
No, it was. I literally talked to your mom about this in my office. So
yeah.
But like, I honestly say I can't feel that right now. Like, it's to the point where it's like, I don't feel like I'm changing lives. I don't feel like I'm connecting with students. And again, it's bittersweet. In some ways, that's a good thing because that means I'll be less burnt out because I'm less invested in them and they're less dependent on me. But it's also bitter because that's what gave me a lot of purpose and meaning in my life. And that's sort of gone. So now I just feel the void with Void Linux and Minecraft Dungeons. So
You should pick up League of Legends or another
no,
game.
I'm not that degenerate. So
Oh, well.
I definitely miss like stopping, by your office or your hallway
I was
or
so
getting
happy.
lunch or
I was so
anything like that.
happy that Emery stopped by yesterday. Was it yesterday? No, 2 days ago. And all she did was leave her bag in my office. And that made me so happy. I was like, yes,
Oh,
I'm
man.
someone's locker again.
That's so heartbreaking.
I'm
Oh.
someone's
Sweet.
locker again.
Man.
Oh.
It was like, oh my god, I'm so glad she's not by.
Should we field trip to Bowie's office?
No, please don't. I'll be playing video games. So,
And only one person around.
Yeah, only one person at a time.
Well, we had 4 people in the office.
Bro, super spreader in Bowie's office?
Sorry. I did not violate protocol.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
You had 4 people in the vicinity because 2 of them were, in the hallway.
I
definitely. Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying, Professor Bowie. Like, I feel like a lot of the stuff in, like, even in my coursework that I used to find joy in, like, just doesn't, like, excite me or make me happy this semester. So,
I mean, I've said this before on IRC, but like usually in class, if no one's answering or talking, what I will usually do is I will roast people, right? Like, I would just call someone out and just roast them and to basically egg them on to say something so we can progress in class. But like in operating systems in PC, I've just sort of become acclimated to just standing there in silence.
Roast
And
the
just,
Zoom
like,
kids.
No, but like it's like I'm like, why make the effort of like trying to egg them on? I'm just gonna sit here for like a minute, not say anything in silence, and then someone's gonna feel awkward enough to actually say something, But I'm just saying, in the past, that would never happen. In the past, like I watched the videos of I mentioned so many times. Like, I watched the videos of like last year's operating systems, and it's just like it doesn't feel like teaching. It's just like I'm making jokes, and I'm just like, like I'm like making fun of Zephin, and then Emery, and then Will, and Matt, and like it's just like hilarious. It's like all these people, like, we're just talking and we're just going through the problem, and it's like a conversation working together. And then Pascal will ask a random question, and then we'll go off on a tangent, and that does not happen. It's like it's so like it's not quite pulling teeth, but it's more like, okay, let's do some Mad Libs here. Let's find what's the right adjective to put in this blank space.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that made your class like one of the best classes, right? It's because like it seemed that kind of atmosphere also promotes like actually remembering the information. If you're not just like providing the info, but it's like this fun like activity sort of thing.
It's just class today these days is just like so much more scripted. Like if I watch the video, right, I'm not like actually always following the slides. I'm like making things up on the fly, and I'll skip around on things, whatever I think is important at the time. But today I'm just more like, because I'm using the tablet, I'm just like, okay, next slide. And it's just like, I'm like, what have I become? This is like what I never wanted to do, but I've been forced into doing this. It just kills me. Now, I have tried in the last couple of days to change that, where now I just have a blank slide where I just draw a lot.
I like that format.
I don't know. I was actually very tempted to just be like, all right, guys, here's what a real class looks like. Just put in video from last year.
Bruh.
But no, Notre Dame kids pay too much for me to just hit play on a video. So I still feel guilty about that. I still want to try. I don't feel like trying too hard. Yeah, but in person, how though, right? If it's still like I have to do this hybrid thing where some students are remote and I can't use
it
the
still has to be like online
Yeah,
in that sense.
yeah, and if I can't use the chalkboard, like to me, I cannot believe how much better using a chalkboard is than a stupid tablet.
Yeah.
You have so much
you just
more
had so much freedom
real
in your
estate.
class.
So much more real estate. You know. I guess they use a chalkboard. I feel like I can't use a chalkboard because I looked at the camera in my classroom, and you can't see the chalkboard with the Zoom camera that we have set up in the OS classroom.
Yeah.
Terrible. Because it's too far. It'd be very hard to read for my remote kids, and I feel bad. I don't want to shortchange my remote kids. So.
Yeah. Because I mean, a lot of them are not remote by choice.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
I'm in constant fear during compilers.
All right. So, do you want to let's quickly wrap this up? Let's talk about some club news.
Okay.
I think we are going to try to meet together, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
we want to do a Lugoween sort of thing.
Correct.
So how's this going to work?
AKK.
TBD. It's gonna be Halloween-ish time frame. We will provide some sort of food. What is Emery saying? Okay, you were supposed to work out the details.
Okay. Here's the broad overview. We'll provide details on Slack, right?
Details aren't important right now.
We'll get there later. We're gonna have some prepackaged Rona safe food.
Yes,
essentially.
there will be.
We're gonna be meeting outside.
I saw during
Right.
the Notre Dame game a commercial for Jersey Mike's. Apparently, do catering with individually wrapped sandwiches.
Ooh.
So that's an option for us then.
So if we don't want to do pizza, which probably is a little dicey,
Yeah, I
We
don't think we
can't.
should.
We
do pizza.
can't.
I think we can do individually wrapped sandwiches,
Okay.
and then we can have people bring individually wrapped goodies that they can pass out or share.
Yes.
So this is gonna be outside. We're gonna be spaced out appropriately.
We need to message SAO about that.
Yeah, and it will be completely sanctioned by SAO too.
Yeah.
So
So
Bring your own individually wrapped pizzas. If you want to bring individually wrapped pizzas, Nolan, if you can find them, we will accept. What day? Halloween time
Undecided.
frame.
yeah.
We have to work that out with SAO.
Halloween's on a Saturday.
Yes.
Well, this is all gonna be based on what SAO tells us, anyways.
Yes. The
All right.
Halloween time frame.
So most likely in 2 weeks is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay.
So,
In about
Yeah.
one moon.
And another big thing, right, is lug masks.
yeah.
So if you guys like, we're not going to do them if no one wants them because that's just a waste of resources. But if it's
You
something
have to
that,
buy them in bulk. You have to buy them
Yeah.
in bulk anyways.
Yeah,
Do you have
exactly.
the design buoy?
I don't remember
Okay.
where it is.
if someone wants to do a really cool design, that'd be great.
Yeah, please do.
I haven't seen buoys. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying if someone feels passionately about doing a design, then we can do that.
It would probably just say ND Lug, or it will have our penguin logo.
Yeah,
Just say ND
have a
Lug.
tux.
They will look like
Sucks.
masks, Emery.
Yeah.
They will go over your
They
face.
will go on your
and everything.
face. Can they have a zipper? A beak? I don't think.
Tux beak.
I don't know if I want to wear a beak.
Hmm.
If you want them to have a zipper, you can work that out
No.
yourself.
No, we cannot.
No,
because
it's gonna be like generic whatever was on Redbubble.
us SAO would kill us if we sold zippered masks.
Well, no, the zipper is like it goes over your mouth type thing. Let's get cool mesh.
Yeah, exactly.
masks.
That's
No, see, the
Yikes.
zipper is just so you don't have to like take it on and off and friction with the skin. You just zip it up or zip it open.
I feel like I feel like they allow particulates past.
Well, maybe the zippers you use, Zephin, but
Oh, I do use pretty peasant
yeah,
tier
you need to
zippers.
get the
The ones with like the cloth on the inside that like seals over itself.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah, or like a
Okay.
Ziploc bag, but for your mouth. Let's just put Ziploc bags on our mouth.
We can write ND lug on them.
Correct.
So we will be distributing those at Lugoween, Ziploc bags with Lug written on them.
Fancy Ziploc bags with lug
Yeah.
written on it.
I think that's all the. Is that all the club
That's all the club
announcements?
announcements, I think. Bowie is
Alright.
in deep focus.
As
I
always,
I just got an email from Void Linux. I need to fix one of my patches. So
Oh,
you mean the CI fail was not just because it's jank?
no,
You
no,
were
it's
actually failing
about
CI?
one of the Python 3.9 fixes.
Okay, beast. I
Oh.
echo that, student 06 gang.
You know, hey man, I'm busy, all right? I don't got.
oh
students
yeah, no,
bothering
no,
me.
no, it's fine. We'll wait for you to finish.
All right, go ahead. Say your line.
Goodbye.
Be safe. Do open source.
Parting is such sweet sorrow.
Okay. 07.